What's up? So it's been a little while since my last video. I apologize for that. But I've been working on a few things for this truck. Been working on some new brake calipers for this truck. But before I get into that, a little bit of an update on the blue Silverado. I do have all the parts for the cat-eye conversion for the front end. So I will be making that video very shortly. But this video is going to be on the 04 regular cab Silverado. So you may or may not know that all regular old 99 to 04 Silverados came with these brakes, this caliper, and a 12-inch rotor, I believe. So in 05, they did make some trucks with some drum brakes in the rear, and when they had drum brakes in the rear, they added a 1-inch bigger rotor in the front and a bigger caliper. So I'm going to be switching over to the bigger front calipers from an 05 Silverado, and then we'll go to the rear here. It's regular 9904 trucks came with single piston rear calipers, so I'm going to be upgrading to some dual piston rear calipers from a Tahoe or Suburban. And in doing that, I'm obviously going to need all new rotors and brake pads. For the rear, I'll just have to get some rotors and pads for a 04 Tahoe or whatever. I got 4-wheel drive calipers. They are different somehow, I'm not sure how. Then I'll just have to get some rotors and pads for an 05 Silverado that came with drums in the rear. So a while back, maybe a year or a little more ago, I put some brand new rotors and pads in here, and I did just a quick job of repainting the calipers while I was at it. They look fine, and that's another reason to do this. So I'll have all this fairly new stuff to go on the blue 2000 Silverado, since those brakes look really bad. So another common upgrade to do on these trucks with the brakes is to switch from vacuum boost to hydro boost brakes. It supposedly does a pretty big difference, but I'm not going to get into that right now. It's quite a bit of work, so we'll just stick with the bigger dual piston calipers in the rear, and then the 1-inch bigger rotors and bigger calipers in the front. Hopefully it'll stop a little better. So here are the calipers I got. Here is one rear and one front. And I got all 4 from my local junkyard. The fronts I got for $20 a piece, the rear for $35 a piece, and that includes the bracket. So they're not really usable the way they are here. So I'm going to have to take them apart, get them cleaned up, painted, and then basically replace all the seals and everything, get them ready to go back in the truck. So here's a better look at the rear one. The caliper, I believe, is made out of aluminum, so it is a lot lighter. But as you can see here, like I said, not really usable the way it is. Pretty crusty. Here's the front off an 05 Silverado with drums in the rear. Pretty rough shape. I did have the bolts out to make sure that I was going to need new guide pins, which I do. So as you can see there, pretty crusty. So I'm just going to focus on this front one for this video. It's pretty repetitive to do all 4, so I'll just show you the process on this one. Take it all apart, get it cleaned up, and then paint it and put it back together with all new parts. So I did mention before, all the rebuild parts, all the parts I needed were about $100, so then the total with all 4 calipers and all the parts I need to rebuild them is about $220 for all 4. So like I said, I did have it apart once, so these bolts are loose. I'll just pop those out a minute. Get the caliper separated from the bracket. The guide pins. Pretty rusty inside those holes. I did take out the boots in here too, just to see the condition in there, see the guide pins. So there's the caliper and bracket. I'm going to take some brake clean and clean inside those guide pin holes. Get that all nice and clean. Get that ready to start sandblasting. And what I'm going to do here is take the brake line off the caliper here and then drain the fluid that's in there out of there. So we'll continue on after that. Alright, I got the brake line off. Got as much fluid as I could drained out of there. So I put an old brake pad down there. Then I'm going to take an air hose. Got to be a tip that'll seal. This is kind of rigged up like that. Seal on that hole there and just blow in there. And the piston should pop right out. And then with a dual piston, it gets a little tricky because one will come out first, and then you'll have to use a brake pad and like a C-clamp to hold that one kind of half in to get the other one out. So I'll show you that a little bit here. As you can see there, the one popped out easily and the other one's still up in there. So I'll have to push that one back in a little bit and hold it with the C-clamp to get the other one back out. Alright, got the pistons out. Everything ready to go. Got the little seals out. These just pop right out with a screwdriver. They got a little metal ring inside them. Got everything ready to go. I'm not going to show the sandblasting because you're not going to be able to see anything anyway. Oh, here's the piston. Clean up nice. Ready to sandblast and be able to get it cleaned up pretty nice, get it painted. Alright, I got the caliper and bracket all sandblasted as good as I could and painted up nice. Give you a little look at the caliper here. Came out pretty nice. Went with silver. Looked good on my silver truck. Bracket came out pretty nice as well. Just put some old bolts in the holes to prevent from getting paint inside everything. So here's everything I need to put it back together. I got the rebuild kit, which is basically just the dust boot and the seal for the inside. That's a Dorman brand, I believe. Also got some new little rubber guide pin boots. There's the original pistons, obviously. They look pretty good, so I'm not gonna really mess with them. Just cleaned up the top where it meets the brake pad and stuff. Brand new brake bleeder screw. This is just a little rubber plug to put in the hole where the brake line screws in. Also got brand new guide pins because the original ones were pretty rusted, pretty much junk, so I had to get those. Also need a little bit of brake fluid to reassemble everything, lubricate it. Also some silicone brake lubricant, brake grease. Obviously you want to wear gloves when you're doing this. First I gotta just pull all this tape off here. Get these old bolts I had in here. So just turn the brake bleeder screw in there first. So I'm going to soak these little seals in some brake fluid. Get them nice and lubricated. And then just get them installed in that little groove there. Right there, I got the little seals installed. Probably can't see that very well, but try not to touch the fresh paint with the brake fluid on my hands. So throw the pistons in now. These seals they have like a little metal ring encapsulated in the rubber. So all I have to do is just pop it on there. Sit right in place. So I put it on the piston there first. Get it set in the little groove there. That groove there. Then I'll just start the piston in there. And hopefully it'll find its spot. So I want to get a little brake fluid on these pistons too before I install them. Make sure it goes in nice and lubricated. So there you can see the piston's pretty much all the way down, and this seal should just pop right in place. Alright, I got both pistons back in, got the seals seated as good as I could. I'll move on to the bracket now. Put these little boots in, then I'll just bolt the bracket to the caliper for now until I get them installed. Alright, the rubber boots are installed. Put a little silicone grease on my guide pins. It's completely dry inside there, so I want to make sure I get enough on there. Alright, got everything back together. Just going to go ahead and bolt the caliper to the bracket for now. I'm not going to torque it down or anything because I'm going to have to take it back apart to install it on my truck. Could install it like this, but it's just a little easier to do the bracket first and put the brake pads and stuff in before the caliper. There you go, there's one completely restored and rebuilt caliper. It's looking a little bit nicer. And just for reference, here is the other side. Looking pretty sad. You can see this is supposed to slide easily. Does a little bit, but not very good. These guide pins are junk, like I said. So completely rebuilt and restored. Looking pretty good. Alright, so I also have one of the rears done. So these are the rears here. This is off after the restoration and rebuild, obviously. This is before, how I got it from the junkyard. Here's the fronts, before and after. Well, just a little comparison. So we have to get the other two done, and that's all for this video. I'll be back for another video when I install these and hopefully test them out, see how much better it feels. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.